some review, and then we're going to move forward. So, review. Selling's about how you think. Somebody tell me about that. What does that mean? We kind of put it up there, didn't we? Tell me what selling is about how you think means.
No, you got the sale, you got it.
What's that?
You think you got the sale, you got it.
Okay. Somebody else. I heard somebody else speak up. What? No stinking thinking. Okay. I believe that the customer is going to buy. I know the customer is going to buy. I know the customer should buy from me. Customer may be concerned about price. Frankly, I think everybody's concerned about price in some way, but price is not their number one motivator, at least not for my customers. Okay. I'm very confident in my staff and in my product, so much so that I believe that the customer, I'm actually frustrated if they decide to do anything other than what we recommended or go somewhere other than us. Okay. If you do not think right, you will not sell. Period. Okay. Number two, trust is essential to my success. People buy from people they like and trust. Okay. With what is that concept? How do I build trust with a customer?
Ask those like button pushing questions that, not like button pushing, but it's like finding their happy place.
Okay, so trying to figure out, at least unique selling proposition, what is it that customer is really concerned about and what's most important to them?
Yeah.
Okay. A really great question in my arrows is, when you think about automotive service and repair, what's most important to you? I might even ask a customer today, what's most important to you? Because things may have changed from the last time they were in, or, and it's really funny when you ask that question, the customer says, I gotta pick my kids up at 3, right? That's the most important thing in their agenda today, as opposed to, I have to have my car fixed and it's gonna cost me $2,000. Trust is essential to my success. I'm building trust because I'm listening to the customer and I'm paying attention to the customer and I'm trying to figure out what is most important to this particular customer. Right? How else do I build trust with people? What's that?
Follow through.
Follow through. So I say what I'm going to do and I do what I say. I don't. If I told them I was going to call them at 3 o'clock, I call them at 2:58.
But you also tell them you're going to 3 o'clock.
Yeah, you have to set it up.
Not call them.
Right, you have to set it up. I'm not vague about my promises. Very, very clear promises. So I'll be calling you at 3 o'clock. Will you have time to talk to me at 3 o'clock? Usually, and then I usually go, and is this the right phone number? It's a script and a process that I developed that I deliver the same time to every customer. It's kind of funny when you start having customers go, before you ask the question, having customers goes, oh yeah, and that's the right phone number, Cecil, because they've heard you ask that same question like 15 times and say it exactly the same 15 times. Now you know you have a good process down. And they should. Every once in a while you should have a customer go, oh yeah, of course I'm going to refer people to you, because you're getting to your referral part, you're starting it, and they go, yeah, I've heard it before, right? Well, okay, great, thank you, and I'm done and on my way, but I have a process. I have a habit that I've created to do it in a very specific way. There are some shops where we have service advisors not showing up on time. They're the ones that are supposed to open the business, so at 8 o'clock I have customers standing at my door. We've told them we're open at 8. There's nobody there to open the door. They have to wait 5, 7 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. To me, that starts the relationship off terribly. So, you know, I would tell you, if you work for me, if you were supposed to be at 8 o'clock, you better be here at 7:45. You know, doing all the stuff that you do before you actually unlock the door and deal with customers. I don't care if you clock in or don't clock in at that point in time. But you better be here to take care of the customer, because we've kind of made a promise by saying these are our hours. Don't start the relationship off poorly from the very beginning. And be very clear about creating the expectations with the customer. The more comfortable they are, and here's what happens, and it goes into kind of previous conversation. Why don't we circle the price and have them sign by it, right? Some of you are not having the customer sign the initial work order. And my answer, my question to you or anybody else that does that is why aren't you doing that? Right?
Extremely cumbersome.
What's that?
Extremely cumbersome.
Yeah, I've never done it.
Our digital software doesn't have a way to do it, so.
Yeah, seems inconvenient.
Yeah.
Get a digital signature pad, make your people put it in, a protractor, whatever, I don't really care, fix it. The real reason in most cases that we're not clear about our promises is because we don't want to get negative feedback from the customer at this point of the relationship. So, hey, it's going to cost $160 to do the diagnostic. Oh my God, $160. Why? Well, the technician, blah, 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 whatever the story is, but I don't want to have that interaction. It already puts stress on me right from the beginning. And, my God, the customer might say no. By the way, if the customer's going to say no, when do you want to find out? Right in the beginning, right? I need that conversation. That's why I tell customers, I don't say, hey, we're going to start on your headlight switch and see what happens. I say you need to be prepared to spend up to $3,000 here because it could cost you that. And I'm not saying it will, but it could. And there's no sense getting started if we can't finish the job, right? Because I want to know if they're not going to pay, and I want to know now because I don't want to spend the time and the energy with them if they're not going to pay. I can give that to somebody else. And by the way, if this is the only car in your shop, then you have other problems, okay, than that. But a lot of service supervisors are not clear about their expectations. They're not creating clear expectations because they don't want to get that negative feedback from the client. Now I'm gonna dive one step deeper in this particular piece. Customers calls up and says, hey, I got a check engine light on my car, and car stumbles at idle when it's cold. Once it warms up, it doesn't seem to stumble, but it seems like it's really stumbling when it's cold. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Customer. You write up the ticket, the customer shows up to your door, and if you're a good service advisor, you say, is there anything else while the car is here, right? And the customer says, yeah, there's a really weird rattle when you make a left turn and kind of go over a bump at the same time. So you write that down, the customer states vehicle rattles on a left turn going over a bump about below 15 miles an hour. Right? So if they're going more than 15, they don't hear the noise because they pass it before it happens or whatever. So I write that down, and then the customer says, yeah, and I got a tail light out. Customer states, tail light is out in the left rear, and there's there's a drip in my driveway that started, and so customer says something's leaking from his car, seems to be coming from the front of the car, finding spots in his driveway, right? And then you had 160 for the original diag, and down at the bottom it's still 160, and you don't change it at that point. And here's what happens: you hand it to the technician, and the technician says, "You're asking me to do 3.5 hours worth of work, and you only have an hour's worth of time because I know what that means." Well, what the hell? And the customer's not prepped at this point. I can't tell you how many times I told the customer, I said, "Okay, with these other things, we're going to probably, I need you to authorize $500, sign here." And they go, $500? Well, what do you mean? And you're like, well, we need to diagnose this, and we have to look at this, and we have to do the dye test, the pressure test, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And they're like, oh, well, don't worry about that tail light. I can do that myself. Okay, let's take that off. Now it's $450 or whatever. I would rather know now in the beginning that you don't want to do some of that than send it to a tech and then have you not want to pay for it. Yes, sir.
And there's been a couple times where it's like, customer comes in the morning, we've been talking about, what we want to address. We got, maintenance things, and then there's a couple other concerns, and I try and sell them on the diag for it, and then they're like, no, let's hold off on that, and I keep it as decline.
Right.
And then the technician finds it on his inspection. And they're like, well, why were you going to charge me for that? If it was just a part of your inspection.
Well, so there's two pieces. Okay, so number one, the technician finds an oil leak. there's a leak, and the technician is under the car and he sees the oil leak. What are the odds that that's the only oil leak that's leaking on that car?
Or if he calls it out.
How many times have I sold a guy an oil pan gasket or rear main seal or something like that, because that's going to fix his oil leak, and then 2 weeks later he's back because there's other oil leaks on the car that we didn't do our diagnostic. So it's not just the inspection. Yes, you're really lucky because we found this on the inspection. So go home, play the lottery today. It's a good day for you.
Yeah.
But when we do this diagnostic, it's not just the diagnostic. It's not like I looked up there and there it was.
It's
No.
EMT.
Now, by the way, if I looked up there and there it was, I wouldn't have charged you for the diagnostic. But when we find something, we want to make sure that that's the something that's going to solve the problem. And once we've solved the problem, we also go through a series of retests to make sure that that is the something that did solve the problem. So here's the deal. I can always charge you less, but it's very hard to charge you more once we've already done whatever it's going to be. So if the customer's asking me, why did you found it already? You're like, lucky day for you, right? It's a good day. And you played a lot. Somebody else had their hand up, yes or no? Over here. We good?
Yeah,
Yes,
like,
I was
like,
like, the answer would be I wouldn't.
What's that? I wouldn't.
The answer would be I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Because
We would have got in there, we would have seen it, we wouldn't have run, we wouldn't have charged you for the diag, but we would have told you what the
we're
problem
fair,
was.
because you know we're fair, you know that you trust me, and you know that I actually charge the time that I take. to do
Yeah.
The right thing, and the right thing would have been, oh, look, I didn't need to do that, but the reason we get approval for that is to do this, that, and the other, so you can fix the correct thing the first time, and spend your money correctly. You want me to do that, right?
So I'm always overestimating the job by 10% minimum. And I do that on purpose, and we have that in training through this. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but I do that on purpose because at the end of the day, if I can give you some money back, which I know we've already talked about, now you're saying to yourself, wow, that Cecil, what a great guy. He could have kept all my money, but he gave me $25 back. I'm creating that, all of that. And I can, if I estimate properly and I sell properly. I can create that right from there. Goal setting. Why is having a goal or a target important for you, the service advisor?
if you don't have a goal, you don't know where you're going.
Okay. If I don't have a goal, I don't know what's required of me. If I don't know what's required of me, I don't know when I'm succeeding. All right. Everyone in the company needs to have goals and targets because, for nothing else, and really, there are a bunch of reasons why that makes sense. But for nothing else, at the very least, when I hit my target, I know that I did my job, right? And so I can go home at the end of the day and feel good about having done my job. Should I hit my targets all the time? No. In fact, if I am, I'm not. They're not where they need to be. There's always this debate about, well, how often should I fail? And I would tell you, if you're not failing 20 to 30% of the time, then your targets aren't high enough. Now, with failing, I set a goal when I took over my father's shop to make $140,000 in net profit. Now we were making $27,000, so that's a pretty lofty target. The first year we didn't make it. We did $139,600 and change. So if I had a $140,000 goal and I hit 139 plus, I'm feeling really good about that. And obviously next year I'm going to stretch it, but if I set a target from 27 for 40, and I hit 40, then I didn't do 139, right? So for me, I'm constantly stretching myself further and further and further on purpose. I guess I'm testing myself in the game, see if I can play the game, if I can do the game right, if I can still win. Goal setting is good for the company. We need to know where we need to be, and we need to know how we make money and how that equates to money. Goal setting for the individuals in the company are about creating trust and helping people succeed. In many companies, there are no goals and targets. I'll tell you that's a big mistake. So I'll pick on Kevin and Brendan. you know, John's not gonna be a happy guy. We're pretty sure at this point, he's not gonna walk in every day and go, oh, yeah, great to be here, you guys have been doing a fantastic job, really good work, blah, 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 right? So if I base my own sense of success and failure on John's attitude, how John deals with me, how successful am I gonna feel? Not, right? So I can't do that, right? And that's a mistake that a lot of owners make, is they don't set the targets, they don't set the goals. And so the employee bases their success or failure on the owner's attitude, right? And people are different. You know, you have some people that are always happy, you have some other people that are always looking at the dark side of things, and you have people in the middle, and they're just all different. I want my company people to base their sense of worth in the company on whether or not they hit their goals and got their jobs done, as opposed to whether or not I'm having a good day today. And that's one of the reasons why having goals and targets are essential. And by the way, if the technician has goals and targets that you can help them with, yeah, I got you an extra couple tenths today, Blue, for this. Oh, good. That's going to help me towards my goal. Then I can help them win more often. If I can help them win more often, they're going to like me more, and they're more likely to do what I need them to do when I need them to do it. Listen to me. Okay? And I can make up somewhat for the confidence that I have that may come across as arrogance by helping them be successful and helping them win. I'm putting stuff in the bucket instead of taking it out of the bucket. Margins and financial balance. We mentioned margins. What is the parts margin that we should be achieving in our business? 58% parts. You guys are at like 62, which, by the way, might be a little high. I'm not going to argue that point right now. Actually, you're getting labor at like 68, 69 also. You guys have the highest margins of anybody the last 6 months. Not just in this group, but in all the groups of all the people that I deal with.
Workflow.
And you're not, well, you did already probably, but you're also not chasing customers away, which would be my concern. But I gotta tell you, if she can get 60% parts margin, why can't the rest of them?
Does it also depend on the size of the part? It's hard to get a 60% margin on an engine, that's not really crazy.
Well,
Is that opposed to
if,
like a mounting hardware?
but if- okay, so, there are multiple types of businesses. So if I have a business that's doing a lot of engines and transmissions, then I'm gonna have a lower parts margin, period. But I can't have a lower parts margin because if I have a lower parts margin, then I don't have enough gross margin. If I don't have enough gross margin, I don't have enough net margin. Yes or no? Yes, sir.
We do tons of big items, we sell like
Yeah.
frames and axles and stuff. I just export I redesign the matrix to the company.
Yeah.
We charge more on water pumps and more on brakes because we sell frames.
And we actually have to do that because no matter what, I have to make a 58% margin. Or I could change the whole game and say, instead of making a 64% margin on labor, I'm gonna make a 66 or 68% margin on labor, and then I'll make 4% less on parts because that's how my business is structured. But no matter how I do it, I have to have that 62% gross margin, or I don't have the net margin that I need, right? So now I have Jamie, who is this 40-year-old woman, and her husband Bob, who run a business, and Bob is the tech and Jamie's the front counter. And Jamie knows nothing about automotive. So this is a few years back, and Jamie shows up to one of our meetings, and Jamie starts to learn about automotive. In that very same meeting, I have Brian. Brian has been doing this for 15 years. He knows all about it. He's a super intelligent person, successful business owner, and Brian is having a struggle making 52% parts margin in this company. Okay. Jamie, who knows nothing, goes home, puts the matrix in place, and all of a sudden she's at 64%. Why could Jamie, who knows absolutely nothing, get 64%, and Brian, who knows everything, only get 52 and struggle to get 52?
Because he's changing it.
Because you're just doing it isn't psyching yourself out of the negative effects.
She doesn't know any different.
Just plug it in and doing it.
She just says this is what it is, and her customers don't know any different either. See, that's the other thing that we for some reason sometimes think is that our customer actually knows what we should be charging for this, and in fact, most of the time they don't. Repair Pal has an interesting statistic that they've been marketing, which I think is bullshit, excuse me, it's crap. They're saying that 80% of the customers actually price shop you. And I would tell you, not 80% of the customers in most of the shops that I work with, but maybe 80% of the people that are on Repair Pal are looking for price, and that's all they're looking for. So you can sway statistical data to say whatever you almost want it to if you take the right sample. My point is, right. My point is, and we see this in politics all day now. My point is, you are the person that will either get margin or you won't get margin because it's up to you. And if you have preconceived notions about what a customer will or won't pay for an engine, or will or won't pay for a control module, or will or won't pay for a dealer part, or will or won't pay for brakes, then that's going to be your reality. You know, I used to sit down with people and have great arguments. I love to argue with deep personality. So for me, an argument's like injecting you with speed. You know, let's go. Hang on, I'll get there. So I love arguments. I used to argue all the time with service advisors and owners. Oh, you can't do that. You can't. Well, of course you can. And by the way, I have 15 companies that work in and around your business that get the job done. You're the only one that doesn't. And the reason why you don't, whether you like to admit it or not, is because of what's in your head. Period. Okay. I can convince a customer to do whatever I need them to do, as long as they like me and trust me. All right. And I build trust all the time. Him first, then you. It's about what's in your head. Margin is about what's in your head. It's not about any reality that the customer has. So you're right, if I'm buying a lot of engines and stuff, then my margin is likely to be different, especially if I'm following the matrix. But I have to do what Ben did and rewrite the matrix because I have to get my margin. Go ahead, Alex.
This is slightly margin related, but so our dealer, BMW, has been very aggressive on advertising cheap prices like Facebook, Instagram, mailers, $79 oil services.
Yep.
Cars that are 5 years or older, they $40 less labor rate, so they're like $40 more than per hour.
But you're not.
Well, advertised price, at least, is what we're getting at. And I've had recently more people ask about it. Like,
Yeah.
It's never been an issue in the past. In the last few months, because they've been so aggressive about it, asking about it. How is
So tell me 3 reasons why I should pay $40 more an hour at your shop.
We have a better warranty, we have 3 year, 36,000 mile warranty.
What else?
We have loaner vehicle shuttle service running all day.
What else?
We wash every vehicle every time.
What else?
Our technicians are highly trained to get the job done right the first time.
There's one thing that the dealer cannot have at all. Okay. You are a part of the equation. You have to become a part of the equation. I used to steal work from. I was $158 an hour. My dealer was $110. The intermediate service was $250. The dealer was $117. Okay. People would call me and go, "Hey, I have this list." What does that mean? Where'd they get the list? Probably the dealer.
Yeah.
I would go, "Oh, have you had your car into the dealer recently?" "Oh yeah, in fact, I'm at the dealer right now." Well, some of the stuff that they're selling you, if you come here, we're not going to agree with, because it happens all the time. And then my techs are so much better than the dealer techs, they're actually going to find some things that the dealer missed. So my recommendation is, and by the way, we have this warranty, and best of all, we're the best in the industry. And if you really want to work with the best, have the best customer service, have the best relationship, then I've got an appointment for you. Come on down. Cheap. Why? So, if you look at the long-term industry, so you go back 25 years, what did the dealer look like?
Only 25 years.
Well, yeah, but back in the day, yeah, well, I'd have to ask Scott, maybe Brendan, maybe not 25 years, Brendan's a little younger than that, but you know, Blue, you go back 20 years ago, the dealer was the place to take your car. They had the best technicians, they were probably more expensive than anybody else, but there was a perception that the dealer was better, had more, they were gonna use factory components, blah, 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 right? Now, today, and last year and the year before, they've all said, the customers have basically said, the independent's a better place for us to go. All the surveys have shown that. So what happened, right? Because 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the dealer was this thing on this pedestal, and now they're not. All right, what did the dealer do to knock themselves off the pedestal?
They lower their price.
It lowered their prices.
Like repair work, I have no problem with that. I mean, it's like the service work that they, like Mercedes especially, you know, your service fee, you have pretty much a set thing.
No, but my service fee and their service fee is not the same service. I don't, the manufacturer suggests certain things.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Hang on, Gary. The manufacturer says that you don't change the transmission fluid on this car, it's there for the life of the transmission.
We want to sell you a new one.
Okay? Well, yeah. Why does the manufacturer say you don't change the transmission fluid?
They wanna sell you a car.
What's that?
They wanna sell you a new car.
At 6, 7 years, they need to sell you a new car, that's one. Why not? Well, also why not?
Makes the maintenance
It's lower
less
maintenance.
estimate for life.
They're being judged out there by JD Power and other things on their cost of maintenance and how often it goes in the shop and how often it breaks down and how long the car holds its value and all of those things. And they're going, you know, if we can stretch this out and not tell the customer, by the way, when does your transmission warranty run out on your car? Well, it depends. If it's a Hyundai, you get 100,000 miles. But if it's a BMW, 4 years, 50K. So it's 60,000 miles. If the transmission goes bad, who's responsible for it? And if you're a typical person, what are you probably going to do? You go trade it in and get you a new car because the dealer will pay you something, and then you're upside down in your note, but nobody cares anymore, and they'll finance it for 7 years, so it's $300 a month or whatever. Now, I don't agree with that, because my job is to take care of my customer and their car, and in my opinion, that transmission fluid should be serviced at the very least at 50,000 miles. I don't care what fluid's in it. So I don't have a B-level service that's the same as the dealer's B-level service. And here's what they did. If you look at almost every single dealership, and you look at, they lowered the price on the service, and you go back to what the manufacturer recommends, you know what you're gonna find?
Yeah.
Some of that crap's missing, and it's not being done. And I don't mind having that conversation with the customer. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, you gotta be careful, because here's what we found. In many cases, not all cases, now I won't say that, but in many cases, the dealership has actually taken things out of the service in order to bring the price down. Now, we don't feel that that's the right thing to do, because it decreases the ability of the vehicle to last the way you want it and the value of the vehicle, okay? And you're going to have premature failure on components when the fluids and the other things are not maintained the way that they should be maintained. So we don't agree with the dealer. Our service is a more complete service. We're gonna do more stuff. We have a better warranty. You're gonna have a better experience with us. And so even if we were comparative, they did exactly what we did, and our price was $30 higher, isn't it worth it just to be at a place where someone cares about you and blah, blah, blah?
So yeah, like the $30 I can sell, so I guess like golf cart gas is now like 7 to 9 hours.
Yep.
And we're $40 an hour more, so golf cart gas get $400 more with us.
Okay?
And those are like gravy jobs, and my techs realistically do them in 3 hours. You know, is there something where you would try to get closer to it, or would you?
So I'm
'cause that's- I don't
I'm
consider service
different.
work at this point.
I'm different, and you
Yeah.
can't take me as the norm because I'm not normal.
Mhm.
All right. I'm never going to discount. Well, that's not true, frankly. I still argue sometimes with customers to bring the price down, because it's either that or lose the big job. All
That's,
right.
yeah, it's easy work, and we struggle with car count anyway now.
So when it came to cars and selling work on cars, I didn't care what anybody else charged. Here's my price. Buy it or don't buy it. Okay. And because we were marketing, because we had the reputation we had, I didn't struggle with bringing car count in. Now, and when I was at the front counter 14 years ago, the business was a different business. I understand that. Now, if I had to go through and say, on certain jobs, I can't be competitive, and I feel like I need to be competitive, so I'm gonna reduce my labor rate on these jobs, or, you know, the technician is taking 3 hours, it's a 9-hour job, I'm gonna pay them 7, right? They still win, we still win, the customer still wins, then I would do that. But then I gotta say to myself, where do I make up that extra 2 hours that I gave away? And so now I'm gonna put 2/10 over here, 2/10 over here, and make up that additional time. And so what I know from dealers and from my entire life of dealing with dealers is this: if I pull their work order out and I look at what they actually did for this money, it's never the same thing that I would have done for that money. I had a lady call me, we estimated motor mounts on her car. This is a long time ago, but it's applicable. It's exactly the same thing that would happen to you today. She called me and she says, your labor rate's higher than the dealership. At the time, we were 70 and they were 67 or something, I don't know what it was. And I said, yeah, it is, but the dealer is charging you $200 more for the motor mount job than I am. And she says, yeah, I see that, but your labor rate's higher than the dealer. She couldn't get over it. Now, by the way, guess where I was buying the motor mounts? From that dealership. So I was buying the motor mounts from the same dealership. I was gonna be $200 less on the job, and she was struggling with the fact that my labor rate was stated at a higher labor rate than what the dealership was stated at. Dealerships are not you're not telling the customer the truth either, frankly. None of you are. Because you're adding 20% to the labor, so and the funny thing is your effective labor rate at almost every shop is not even what you have posted. So maybe you are telling the truth. What's that? No, you don't. Yeah, we don't. We fix the job. It's the job, right? Or I have a varying labor rate depending on a lot of different factors. You know, the education of the tech, the tools we have to use, the complexity of the job, the age of the vehicle. Frankly, my labor rate varies a lot, and that's important, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is what do you pay for what you get. Let me tell you what you're going to get here. Loaner cars, me, Supertex, only the highest quality parts, the best warranty in the industry. So even though you may pay a little more, you're gonna get a lot more. So, you know, what's your decision, right? You want me to do it, you want me not want